All right, we are on with the recording. So this is our strategy call. So what I wanted to kind of cover with this is a strategy that we haven't really talked much about. And it's kind of the business measurement. We get into this kind of at the end, and it's where you typically wind up scaling your business. And it's by evaluating what you've done and then planning for what you're going to do. And it's a very important piece to business. So I wanted to kind of cover that today. And I'm going to make up a Word document, and I'm going to put that up in the base camp for you guys so you can have this. And, you know, businesses that are really aggressive, they do this quarterly. They actually look at this and they plan quarters. You know, I've never done that. I've always done it by the year because I'm not that good with the routine stuff. So quarterly is a little much for me, but doing it annually is really helpful. And since we're going into our fourth quarter now, I thought this would be a perfect time to give this to you guys and kind of go through it and explain it. Because getting ready, I want everybody to like wrap up this year strong. I know most of you are not going to be to the point where you're in client acquisition yet, but I want you to see how far you've come, because all of you have come a long way. And yeah, we're not there yet, but just the idea that you can see that progression will put the fire back under you and keep you going. So in this, some of the things that we want to look at, and you know, you might be familiar with this because this is not new stuff either. This is stuff that's been going on in business and, you know, goal setting and all that kind of stuff for a very long time. So, I don't want to come across as, you know, I'm the creator of all this stuff, because I'm not. It's just good practice for businesses. And sometimes I put things into different terms where they make more sense for people. So it's my hopes that at least I've done that. At least I've got this into something that makes sense and is beneficial for you. So I kind of break down all business activities into four, like we'll call it the 4 food groups. And to me, the most important one, the one that you really want to stay strong and focused on, is revenue generating. I mean, that is a business activity that you will die without. So anything, and what I like to do under that category, I like to just kind of just sit for a while by myself and just kind of list things out of what have I done over the last year to generate revenue? And just anything, like if it's making sales calls, if it's going to, to do speeches at different places, where have I actually generated money? And I list those out. Those are revenue generating activities. And then next on the activity list is productive activities. And productive activities is something that moves you forward, and maybe it's like setting up dominoes to generate revenue, but it's not revenue generating. It might be like setting sales calls or setting sales appointments. You know, that is a very productive activity, although it's not revenue generating. The actual sales presentation is the thing that generates the revenue. But to get that, you have to set those sales calls or those sales appointments. So anything at all that I do that's productive in that way, like for me, setting up affiliate partners is very productive. It doesn't generate the revenue right there at that given point in time, but it's setting me up to generate revenue. Those are what I call productive activities. Going out and like at meet and greets, doing the whole rubbing elbows and generating new relationships. Those are productive activities. And then I have constructive activities. Now, constructive activities, that's like the ACT program. The ACT program is constructive. That's where you're actually building things that will make you more productive and generate revenue. So it's all kind of pushing up the hill. And at the bottom of my list, the food group that I want to be the smallest, tiniest fraction is destructive activities. What have I done that just was a complete waste of my time? Those, I mean, they're not necessarily really destructive, but I'm categorizing them as that because I want you to see what's good and what's bad and what you're doing. So I list out all the stuff that I've done. And, sometimes it is scheduling too many things that I shouldn't schedule. That can be destructive because the way I look at it, a destructive activity keeps me from doing something constructive, productive, or revenue generating. If it's an activity that's not focused on one of those, I just lump it into the destructive category. So that's my 4 food groups for business. And it's really kind of eye-opening when you take some time and you start writing down and making a list of that. And some people, they prefer to type it out, but for me, when I actually write it with pen and paper, it seems to be something about that just really gets my personal involvement with it. It really kind of resonates with me to do it that way. And then when I look at that stuff, I look at those 4 groups, and I'll take the list. Like, let's say revenue generating, I've got 10 things that I did that actually generated revenue. I will kind of classify those as which ones were the most effective and which ones were the least effective. And that automatically tells me in the next quarter or in the next year what I should be doing more of and what I should be doing less of. And it's just a way, it's almost like a split test. You know how we split test our ads and our funnels? This is the same thing. It's just we're going back and we're looking at our results exactly like we look at an ad. And what do we do with a non-performing ad? We throw it out, right? So same thing with our activities. And I guarantee you, if you do that, you're going to double your income next year. If you follow this exercise, there's almost no way that you can't. If you really take this to heart, and it gets a lot more in detail. This is just kind of the top end overview of it. But it's that whole thing of breaking it down, all of those things, and just score them. Give them a 1 to 5 or a 1 to 10, whatever. Some people like a 1 to 3. Whatever you particularly like, just go ahead and score them in that order, and then you can reorder them. You can resort them, and you get very clear on what you should be doing moving forward. It's kind of like the avatar. When we're clear on the avatar, we know exactly how to talk to them to get good conversion, right? Well, there we're looking for conversion. So how do we do that effectively? Here we're looking to increase our revenue for business. So how do we do that effectively? And those are the 4 things that will either enhance or suppress our activity in the next 12 months. So when you look at the history of what you've done, it's easy to predict the future. If you're going to stay the same, you're probably going to be the same. If you increase by 100%, you're going to increase by 100%. So anyway, that's kind of the overview. And then I'm going to make you guys, and I've got some notes here I'm going to kind of go through. I'm going to get really detailed with this. So if you guys want to just do the top level and be good with that, that's what we just covered. And if you don't do anything, at least do that. But if you really want to get down into the nitty-gritty, I'm going to go through some of the stuff here that you would do if you were going to play a top level game here. This is how we do it. So we look at, you want to write down your total revenue over the last 12 months. How much did your business generate all avenues. Like on your taxes, what was the total gross income? And then you also want to put down the total profit. Really important that you're honest with that number, because everything is a cost. So total revenue and then total profit out of that revenue. And then we look at marketing activity. And again, you've got to be totally honest with this. You can't write in like what you should have done. This is a what you actually did do over the last. This is a review process. So what's the number of new promotions that you put out over the last 12 months? And this is, like a full promotion, an offer, a funnel. How many new partner promotions did you do? And this is an incoming partner promotion, like you promoted someone else. So the first one was your promotions. How many new promotions did you create for sale in the last 12 months? And then you do incoming partner promotions. How many times did you offer someone else's promotion to your list? That's an incoming partner promotion. An outgoing partner promotion, that's how many times did you make an offer of your promotion to someone else's list. And you can call these JV deals, you can call them affiliate offers, whatever you want to call it. It's a promotion. And it's either someone else made a promotion to your list that you generated revenue from, or you made a promotion to their list that you generated revenue for. Let's see. Then you want to have the number of content pieces that you released over the last 12 months. What did you contribute? What pieces did you put out there to create content on your subject matter? And I know Jim is really big on this because he counts everything. Everything is a promotional piece, a content piece, and that's good. The more that you put out, you should be focused on putting more out, basically, in the next 12 months. And what this review does is the review gives you an x-ray of your business health. It's like it's going to reveal, wow, I didn't do any of that. I should have done that. That's easy. I could have done that and it would have generated more revenue. So that's what this process is going to reveal, is all the additional things that you could do to add to those lists at the top of our 4 main food groups in the right groups, hopefully. So you want to look also at the number of emails that you sent out over the last year. And you can count that as like number of, promo emails that you sent. You might not be able to get it down to the number of people you sent to, but how many different emails went out in the last 12 months? And then also the number of traffic channels that you used. And a traffic channel could be Facebook ads, could be a traffic channel, YouTube ads, pay-per-click ads, SEO. Other traffic channels that should be considered also are any social media. Like, let's say you're posting in Facebook. That is a traffic channel. Now, whether that traffic channel is converting, that's one of the things we're going to look at, is you're spending time on, and how do we categorize that? That might go into the destructive food group. So, Cynthia liked that one. So, all of these traffic channels, YouTube, you could be making YouTube videos and putting them up there, and maybe they're great pieces of content. Maybe you're putting them up there and that's all well and good, but we want to look at that and see what it's actually generating. And if it's not generating something, is there something that we could do to actually turn that and make it productive and make it revenue generating? So we want to, that's another thing we're going to look at, is all of our assets. What's available to us? What are our opportunities? So anyway, the next thing we want to do is now that we've got that list of marketing activities, we've got our channels, our emails, our content, our partner promotions, our number of funnels that we've created. That's our activity, marketing activity review. Now we're going to go into the marketing performance review. We want to look at each one of those and we want to say what was done well and what was done not so well. You know, you could look at it as what worked, what didn't work, what pushed up the line into production and revenue. That's what I talk about when I'm talking about what was done well, what was done not so well. You want to try and identify, you know, turn it into the 80-20 rule and identify and highlight that 20% that was working better than the rest, just so it stands out to us. So that's the performance review of just going through each one of those things and rating them like that. Next is the market conversion review. So with a conversion review, we want to look at the total visitors generated to any given promotion. And again, when we're doing this conversion review, it's on every different piece. Like you can look at this as a partner promotion. Like let's say we did a webinar, and we did a webinar for another partner to their group. So you want to look at how many visitors were generated, how many total leads were generated, and how many customers were acquired out of that. So each promotion, you want to look at it and rate it like this with a conversion review. And same thing with all of your marketing activities. Like all the time that you spent on Facebook, how many visitors were generated, how many leads were generated, and how many customers were acquired. And that's going to kind of dictate which food group it goes into. So the other thing that you look at too, of the customers acquired, what was the front end transaction value? Because that's going to give us a number of how much revenue was generated from that marketing channel. We also want to look at, and this might be kind of difficult to do, but we want to look at the average lifetime value of each one of those customers. And again, that might be kind of hard, especially if you're just getting started. But you know, you can kind of estimate it. If you know that the average person that comes into your funnel is going to last with you for 10 years, and you know on average they're going to be worth $1,000, then that's your average lifetime value. If you don't have stuff on the other end and you don't have any affiliate offers, your lifetime value might just be that customer acquisition, whatever that was. And that's your worst nightmare in this review, is it would reveal that. Total revenue generated and total profit, again, out of each one of those marketing channels. Because what you might find is that you have one marketing channel that's generating a good amount of income, but there's no profit to it. And worse yet, there's no lifetime value to the customers out of that channel. And that is destructive, believe it or not. That would be a destructive activity. And again, we want to do this per channel. Every different traffic channel that you do, you want that performance, that conversion performance review. So let's see. Oh, here's another one that you want to evaluate too, especially within Facebook, is your audience targeting. Like let's say you create a particular audience and you're going to advertise to a particular avatar in that audience. That audience is your avatar. So you want to do kind of the same thing with them. You want to look at, okay, out of audience number one, how many visitors, how many leads, and how many customers? And again, the front end transaction value, the lifetime value, the revenue generated, and the profit. Because if you do that, if you break these up and you really do your analysis, this analysis here is as important as your analysis when you're running your Facebook ads and you're trying to figure out what converts the best. You're trying to do split tests and see what picture draws the most, which one gets the most clicks. This information here is as important as that, because what you're trying to do when you're doing split testing, you're trying to sharpen your sword. And that's what we're doing here as well. And we're breaking it down into each individual traffic channel, each different avatar segment, because ultimately you guys are probably going to have a lot of different avatars. You're going to have multiple funnels for different avatars. I know I've got the blinders on you right now, and we're trying to do one so you can get the process. But ultimately your business will probably wind up with multiple offers, multiple avatars, multiple channels, and you're going to have multiple audiences. So at the end of the year, we want to look back and we want to see what did we do that was successful. And if you don't do this, you might be doing a lot of stuff. You might be really busy, but you might not be very profitable. And by doing a few little tweaks and changes here, by what this information is going to reveal, going into next year, you can have more money. It's just that simple. Yeah, go ahead, Cheryl.
Do you have a spreadsheet on this, John?
That's what I'm working on creating for you.
Okay.
Right now, I've just kind of got notes from the past.
Okay.
But what I'll do, I'll take all of what I'm talking about right now and I'll put it into a Word document for you guys so you can just fill in the blanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
So everything I'm going to say here will be on that Word document. I've got it in notes right now. That's how I'm going through it in such a clean fashion. And the sum of it I'm throwing out because, I've got notes from many different people that I've seen do this over the years, and I've kind of collectively combined them. And most of them get into the spiritual and the health, and they try and wrap it all in. I'm throwing all that stuff out the window, and I'm just focused on the business part here. So I'm going to clean this up considerably before you guys get it. Now, there is one thing. The next thing on the list is in relationship to health, but it's not your health, it's the health of your list. So when I'm talking about list health here, this is an analysis of how healthy your list is. And one of the things that will reveal that is your open rate. When you send out 100 pieces of email to your list, how many of them get opened? If only one gets opened out of 100, you have a 1% open rate. That's horrible. Now, open rates can have to do with a lot of different things. It might be your subject is not compelling. It might be because you've sent your list a bunch of junk that they weren't interested in. Might have been you weren't focused in on what was important to your avatar. There's a lot of things that could affect that health of that list. And this is not a thing where we're going to try and fix everything. We're just looking at the past of what you've got available. So, and hopefully next year, with all the things that we're going to implement, your list will be much healthier. You'll have a much better open rate. Next thing is the click-through rate of the people that open. Like, let's say you've got 100 people on the list and 80% of them open the email. That's awesome. That means you had a great headline and you've got a good rapport with your list. So you got 80% open rate. Now, click-through rate, that tells how good your call to action is, how good your big idea is, how good your lead-in is. If your click-through ratio is high, you've done a good job there. If it's low, then you know what to work on. You've got to get better headlines, better calls to action, better offers. You need to speak more to your avatar and focus in on what's important to them. Because I guarantee you, if it's important to them, they're going to click on it. If it's not important to them, they're going to pass right over it. Also on your list, you want to look at the ratio of customers to prospects. Of 100 people on the list, how many of them have bought from you? So if 20% have bought, then you have a 20% to 80% ratio. of customers versus prospects. Next to reveal the health of your list is the churn rate. How many people are opting out? If you started with 100 at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year you've only got 80, then you've got a 20% churn rate. So every year, if you keep things the way they are, you're going to lose 20% of your list. So what that means is if you're not putting people in your list every year, in 5 years, you're going to have no list whatsoever. So yeah, go ahead, Cynthia.
Could I just go back to this where you talked, I'm sorry, I'm typing while you're talking. You said, what's your ratio of customers to prospects on the list?
Yes.
And I've heard really successful people say that a lot of things about the size of list, but I've heard that sometimes only 10% of their list ever buys from them. But that's okay because, I mean, these are big people that have lists approaching 100K people.
Yes.
Because they're making their money through affiliates. So what's your sort of benchmark for the percentage of our list that should be buying from us?
Well, there is really no set value there. I can't really say that 10% or 20% is good. Generally, the people with those bigger lists, the bigger the list is, probably the less segmented it is. So when I talk about the health of the list, like for instance, in my business, I've got roughly 30 different lists.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you look at my autoresponder, I've got like 30 different 30 different segments and email sequences that go out. So I'm looking at each one of those. Now, none of them are big. Some of them only have 100 people in them.
Yeah, yeah.
It happens to be very segmented. It was 100 people that I knew were interested in something specific. Yeah. So the bigger the list, like if you're in the camp that just throws everybody into one big list, then you're not focused on your avatar. You haven't segmented, and you're not going to be very effective. So, so that's why I can't really give you what's an ideal percentage based on that. Those guys with a huge list, if they've got 10%, that's probably pretty good. But their ability to convert at a high level is probably not very good as well, because the list hasn't been segmented more than likely.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so next is the business model review. So here's where you evaluate your customer segments. And again, you're looking backward. Everything about what we're doing now is we're looking backward. We're not looking forward. We're looking at what we've done over the last year. So what customer segments did we focus on? And for you guys, it's probably one, because I've got you, kind of narrowed down here. But ultimately, when you get into this and you start doing this, you'll have multiple customer segments. Like for me, I've got hosting customers, I've got web development customers, I've got customers in ACT, I've got customers in commercial SEO. I've got a bunch of different segments to my business. So you're looking back at what are your customer segments, what are your, this says value proposition, but we have changed that to unique mechanism. In that particular segment, what's your unique mechanism that makes you different, that's going to do the work to provide the outcome that they're looking for? Next, for each one of those segments, and again, that unique mechanism is per segment. So when you look at the business model review, you're breaking it into segments, and each segment you're asking the question, what's the unique selling proposition here? What's the unique mechanism? What are the channels that you drive traffic to that segment? How are your customer relationships there? Is your conversion ratio high? What are your revenue streams for that segment? What are your key resources, your key partnerships? and also your profit structure. So really, you're kind of taking a look back at all these segments to evaluate which food group are they going to go into. You know, they might land in the destructive one. You'll be surprised when you look back at that. Like I have literally in the last 2 years, I have cut 5 segments out of my business altogether that came from this. When I look back, I'm just like at the end of it, I sat there puzzled, go, what in the hell am I doing? You know, that was time gone. That's destructive. It brought no revenue in. I spent time, money, effort to promote something that was either out of date or not wanted, or I didn't have a profitable segment. And it's like, you just cut and run. When you've got those, you just literally cut and run. You know, that's like cancer in the business. You just cut it out and move forward. So next, you guys have probably heard of this, a SWOT analysis. You ever heard of that? That's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So you're just listing out, you know, what are my strengths? And again, this was something that alluded to things that I've cut out in the past. I'm like, I'm not strong at that. Why am I even trying to offer? Now, when I saw that, and I saw that that was actually a weakness that I was trying to leverage, I took a further look and I said, well, I can turn that weakness into an opportunity because I know somebody that does that really well, and they'll give me 20% if I send them that customer. So that instantly took something from a bad thing to a good thing. It generated revenue. It took something off my plate, and it was just a great thing to do. So look at the strengths, the weaknesses. What are your opportunities? Sometimes it's opportunities that are available you're not taking advantage of. And then what are the threats? And to me, the threats, one of the easiest threats to identify is that fourth food group. You know, it's the time I'm burning that I can't get back. To me, that's one of my biggest threats. Another threat is if you're doing something that is like a commodity. If you're doing something and you're in what I call bloody water, that's a threat. If you're doing something that everyone else offers and it's price-based and it's just a price war, that can be a threat. Too much competition can be a threat. An inadequate product can be a threat. If other people are selling something better, that's a threat. If you're weak at marketing and your other competitors are better at the marketing, that's a threat. So you want to look at these threats and kind of categorize them and try and figure out what threats can I eliminate. And sometimes an opportunity might eliminate a threat. Sometimes, you know, if you've got a product that is not as good as the rest, or you're not as good at the marketing, and you're trying to do that, and that's a threat, and you turn that into an opportunity where there's somebody else that is already providing this, and they've got really good marketing, and all I have to do is be an affiliate. You can take a threat situation and drive that same traffic to something that you were weak at before, and now you're strong because of that opportunity. So it's just a different way to think about things. And what this does, this takes ego and just flat throws it out the window, because you're no longer looking at your business from an emotional standpoint. You're looking at it as a review. You know, you take yourself and you know, your feelings out of this, and you're just looking at, okay, this is factual. This is not speculation. This is factual over what happened over the last year. I did these things, and I am where I am right now because of that. And then you got to look at, okay, next year, do I want to be here again? Or could I be in a better spot? And that's what this review is really good for. It's bringing that reality. It's a reality check. It's a reality check with no ego and making business decisions moving forward based on that reality. That's how you can really move forward and get some major impact in the next year. Next is a marketplace review. And sometimes, by reviewing the market, you'll find out, hey, I should spend more time in this market, or maybe this is not the right market. Maybe I should move. And one of the things you ask about the marketplace itself is, why are you there? And I'm hoping that the answer for why are you there is, I am better than anyone else in this space, and I provide a product or service that can help people. Those are the right answers for why you're in a marketplace. If you come up with answers outside of that, and it doesn't make sense, again, you're looking at this from a review standpoint. You're not trying to defend why you're there. That's a different thing, because a lot of times when we do something right, wrong, or otherwise, we tend to defend it. And that can be a bad thing. That's ego-based. So look at this from a review standpoint of why am I in this market, and answer it honestly. What's your mission? Why are you here? And then also, again, it comes back to unique mechanism. What is your unique mechanism that makes you different in this marketplace? It's like, what is your Garcinia cambogia? What's different about the thing that you have that thing is the same as everyone else's thing, generally, but how are you going to position it as being a unique mechanism to deliver the results that are desired? And then, what has been in that particular marketplace, what has been your primary strategy for turning prospects into customers? Was it webinars? Was it speaking engagements? Was it affiliate offers? What was your primary strategy over the last 12 months that turned prospects into customers? Okay, and then next really is just kind of looking forward from this in an annual plan. So everything we talked about till now has been a review of the last 12 months, and now we're looking at the next 12 months. And basically what we want to do there is we want to look at all the stuff that we just put down and, again, categorize it into the 4 food groups, figure out what we're going to get rid of, what we need to focus on, and put some plans in place with some numbers. And you should be able to speculate these numbers fairly accurately. Like, if you know that you had a particular strategy, like let's say you did a webinar strategy and you had certain traffic channels and that generated $100,000, that 50% was profit. You can easily say, hey, I'm going to throw some stuff out that I was spending my time on, and I'm going to double that. And you should be able to speculate that you're going to double that income. You should also be able to speculate that you're going to free up enough time by removing some of the destructive activities to make that happen. So that's kind of in the forward thing. And then other stuff is I like to do, and I have not been very successful at this over the last 12 months because I've been in a different mode here, but typically what I'll do is I'll lay out a year calendar ahead of me and I'll kind of plan where I'm going to be for different things. Sorry about that. Got a dry throat going over here, but I'll plan that out, and I'll say, okay, I want to do 2 events or 3 events. So I'll plunk them down on the calendar. Whether they're the right date or not, I'll just put them in there. Then I can move them around later. And then anything that needs to be done to make that happen, I'll plunk that stuff down on the calendar too, when that needs to be accomplished by. And again, everything I'm putting on the calendar is either for a revenue generating activity or a productive activity or a constructive. I'm not putting the destructive stuff on the calendar. And what that will do is, if I follow that calendar and I keep moving forward over the next 12 months, it will prevent me from falling into the destructive activities. What I've found is when I don't have a plan and I'm not clear on what I should be doing, I'm usually not doing it. And when I'm not doing it, I'm filling that time with whatever happens in life. And that's generally a lot of those destructive activities. You know, I can wind up spending 4 hours on Facebook, you know, not doing anything constructive or productive. So, and, you know, every time you start a day and you're not clear on what needs to be accomplished, that can really easily happen. You know, if you stick to that structure and you say, okay, well, I didn't accomplish what I needed to today because I was doing these destructive activities, so now I'm going to have to spend that time at night and lose some sleep and penalize yourself for doing the destructive activities. It's magical how that stuff will disappear in the days ahead. So, but if you're unclear, it's inevitable. It's going to happen, and you won't really see it until you get to the end of the year and we do this exercise. So the whole point of the exercise is so you can plan forward to the next year. It's a review and planning strategy session. So, and again, you know, it doesn't have anything specifically to do with ACT, but I think this is an important piece of your business. So I thought today would be worth going into that. So at that point, oh, you got a nice little chart there, don't you? So at that point, do you guys have any questions about that or anything about, you know, ACT strategy in general, or you stuck anywhere?
Well, I've been out of the loop for a couple weeks with all the mom stuff and everything, so I just need to jump back in and, you know, get my feet wet again and pick it back up again. So you know, yes, I'm sure I do, but nothing to talk about today that would be constructive.
Okay. Well, we'll never penalize you for when life gets in the way, because life does get in the way, and life is messy. Just that was like last week I was talking about something that had to do with marketing, and somebody was trying to like get it perfect, and I said, look, nothing about this is ever going to be perfect. This is just like life. It's messy. It's, you know, you just got to deal with it. And if you can't deal with messy, you probably got no business being in business, because no matter how you slice it, business ultimately is messy. There's no clean, you know, A to Z path. It just doesn't happen. It's a moving target. And just like life, we don't know, you know, anything can happen tomorrow and it will change our course forever. So business is no different. So, all right. Anybody stuck on anything, or?
I'm not sure if I'm stuck or not particularly. I'm going through the ACT program, and I pretty much got my competitors down and realized most of them do not have pricing. Most of them do not have any conversation about pricing. So I'm kind of curious on is that a good clue that maybe it's just not to worry about, just say, hey, talk to us then, because so much of this is so ambiguous anyways?
Okay. Now, one thing about that particularly, and I've said this in the past, but I want to say it again. Because your competitors are doing it,
doesn't mean it's right.
Doesn't mean it's right, but it also doesn't mean it's wrong either. It might be different. Like, I'll give you an example for why they might not be putting pricing out. If they've got a product or service that is a high dollar value and they put pricing out, they can be judged on price alone. And they can lose opportunities to have a sales presentation. So if they're in, like in our business specifically, pricing isn't necessarily the best thing to put out there unless you put like starting at. Like you might put, we do SEO programs starting at, $400 a month or $199 a month or whatever it is. And you may actually put a lower price than you would actually ever sell it for. Like I could put on my site, SEO packages starting at just $99. Obviously, they're not going to get much for $99. They're probably going to get a strategy session of what to do, what to have their team do.
Mm-hmm.
But it could get you an appointment to be able to explain your process and build your value before you give them the price. Like a lot of times when you go onto a car lot, the only cars on the lot that have prices on them are the ones that are priced ridiculously low, that probably have something wrong with them. But if you, and again, if you walk up to the salesman directly, face to face, and you say, how much is that car? He probably won't tell you the price. First thing he's going to do is he's going to put you behind the wheel and he's going to let you experience it. He's going to build value before he gives you the price. So that could be their strategy, and that's what is being revealed to you by your market research. So if your market knows something because they've been doing it longer than you have, you should learn from them and not just say, well, they're not doing that, so maybe I know more than they do. You have to be careful with the I know more than they do, because they might have a really solid strategy behind what they're doing.
Well, I kind of because I've struggled with that piece, so I actually said, oh, maybe I don't have to do it, and took it off.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I have never, as long as I've been selling SEO services, I have never in my entire career had somebody go onto my website and sign up for an SEO service.
I'm not surprised. That's amazing.
It hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
If they're interested, they'll call, and they've got all kinds of questions. They've got all kinds of objections. They want to be sold, but they don't believe it yet. So they want to believe it. So I'm really good when I get them on the phone. I'm really good at selling them on it. And the first thing I'm really good at doing is identifying as whether I should sell it to them or not.
Right.
And most of them, like I've said in the past, most SEO clients I turn away because I know I can't help them. And quite honestly, nothing's going to help them unless they help themselves first. If they don't have any way to convert, there's no sense in spending a bunch of money to drive traffic to their site. So that's
how ACT was born, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. ACT was really made out of necessity because I was losing, I was bleeding clients so badly because I couldn't take them on. It was like, I need to build a bridge to create my ideal clients. That's why I created ACT to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you might discover that. You might discover, there's a whole new product that you need to develop because your market needs it. Nobody's fulfilling it. So
well, that's why we jumped on ACT.
Yeah, I mean, look at how many marketers in the marketplace are selling things to this community without any foundation or structure. All great programs, but they're not gonna add up to a hill of beans if you don't have a solid business strategy behind it. Like ClickFunnels is awesome. That's an absolutely awesome program, but it's not going to make you any money. It's just a tool. If you have a business strategy that is ripe to make money, ClickFunnels can help you implement it. But ClickFunnels itself won't make you a dime. You don't just throw up a ClickFunnels page and make money. You've got to have the offer, you've got to have the strategy, you got to know who you're talking to. You have to have a viable business.
Okay, I got a strategy question for you.
All right.
So I decided to get on some concussion Facebook groups to start seeing what the discussions are about, what people are feeling the need and the pain and what's not available.
Okay.
And there's, two areas, caregivers, like how to deal with their people. They're not sure, what's going on with them. Why are they acting this way? So I have, it's segmented into caregivers and then if they've been concussed. But there's no conferences, workshops for people who actually are in that situation. Most of the workshops and trainings are for doctors in the medical field. So I'm reading these feeds and people are saying, there's nothing out here for us. And I'm thinking, well, what's my strategy? Do I start with webinars to bring people in to discuss their topics they're talking about and then lead them to the products? And then one of the products would be a workshop or a conference. I really am enticed to do a non-invasive alternative conference for people, that talk about soft lighting, products that are out there that help with noise control, all their issues, and support. That's kind of big though to jump into.
Yeah, well, you brought up an interesting piece there of caregivers.
Yeah.
You might find that caregivers are more your ideal client than the person that actually has the concussion.
Yeah.
Because generally, it's like drug rehab. The person that's addicted is not your ideal customer because they're in denial. They don't want help. They're just in a downward spiral. It's their loved ones that are desperate for and seeking the assistance. So
the concussed, there's so many different levels. I'm high functioning, with my brain injury. And so you have so many different levels where people aren't in that extreme pain, but they're still looking for answers like, how do I sleep at night? And how can I start to focus better? And everything, people aren't wanting drugs anymore.
Yeah, well, see, that strategy is what we came up for you in the beginning was your avatar is not a person, it's a symptom.
Yeah.
So if you categorize it down, what symptom is the most profitable for you, that's going to be your market segment that you're going to go after. And they're probably totally unaware that it is related to a brain injury.
Well, people on this site are aware because they see that the change has happened ever since they've been in an accident or hit or whatever. But
Okay.
There's so many people who have been concussed that don't realize that they may have had a brain injury from it. But the people on this website are like extreme, right? It's a Facebook group. They're the extremes, like.
Okay, so that's a perfect example of a particular avatar that you need to speak differently to. So like I said, you might have 4 or 5 different avatars by the time you're done.
Yeah.
So to me, what you want to do to really get yourself off the ground is identify the one that's going to be the most profitable for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then spend your time attacking that particular segment and really getting a profitable piece where you can make money, and then take a step to the side. Take your funnel. It worked really well over here for these people. Replicate it, adjust the language for your new audience, and then you have 2 channels now making you money.
Yeah, the caregivers would definitely be able to participate in everything that I'm providing, as opposed to a concussed person. There's things that, sitting and watching a webinar might be too much for them. they even said, like, I couldn't attend a conference. Like I said, what would you like to see if there was a conference? And most of them said, I just couldn't even go. I can't even attend the lighting, the fluorescent lights, you know, the noise. So I'm like thinking, man, you could make such a cool conference for them with yoga rooms and soft lighting and, you know, purple hues and where they could participate. Nobody's doing that.
Yeah, see, that is understanding your avatar.
Yeah.
But you've also got to look at, is that a profitable avatar? Do they have the money for that, and would they part with the money to participate in that?
That's true. A lot of them are in a bad way because they're not working now.
Yeah.
So that's a good point.
So again, you know, it's all about that profitable. It always comes down to that is your beginning piece. Who's going to be the most profitable?
And I forget that because I see a need and I feel so bad. Yeah. I just think, how can I help these people? Yeah. You know, who cares if they have money? Well, I have to start caring because I don't have money. So
yeah, see, that's the thing. The whole philanthropy thing is awesome, and I would encourage everyone to do it. But you've got to do it for yourself first.
Yeah.
If you don't make yourself healthy and strong and wealthy, you can't help others.
Yeah.
You know, you might be able to help a few around you, but if you want to impact the world in a major way, you've got to get yourself strong and healthy and wealthy yourself.
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to do that is with a business, and the only way the business is going to do that is by focusing on profitable segments.
Yeah.
That's the fastest way. You know, there really, when you focus on the non-profitable segments, you're in the destructive category.
For sure.
You know, you're eating from the bad food group.
I've been doing that for a while.
Yeah. So, you know, I've told several people in our group that, you know, you've got to put the philanthropy aside, just until you get it right. You know, I'm not saying give up on it forever. That could be your driving force for why you're doing what you're doing. You know, they say that entrepreneurs are the ones that are willing to do what others won't so they can have what others will never have. Others will never have the ability to be philanthropists. So the things that you need to do to get yourself into that position may be uncomfortable. But ultimately, once you're there, you're going to be very happy and comfortable. So it's an entrepreneur thing. And you know, sometimes it's an adjustment from what we want to do, from what we have to do as business owners. So,
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I thank you. I needed that message.
Yeah. Now, here's another thing when we're talking about profitable segments, and I know this is on unaware level for most people, and even people in business, they don't realize there's different levels of ways to sell products, whether it be products or services. And there's probably a lot of different levels, but I'm just going to simplify it and break it into 4. And on the bottom of the food chain, you have the retail customer. That's the customer that buys and consumes the product. Right up from that on the food chain, you've got the retailer. The retailer is generally the storefront that supplies those products to the consumer. Just up from the retailer, you've got either a representative, a rep, a manufacturer's rep, or a distributor. And a lot of times a distributor will have reps that service the retailers. And then at the top of the food chain, you've got the manufacturers. So sometimes what will destroy a business is if they try and go direct from manufacturer to consumer, because they're not good at it. They're good at manufacturing. They're not good at selling. So that's why they have a distributor that sells to the retailer that sells to the consumer. So if you think about it, the manufacturer can now, since he doesn't have to worry about the sales channels, all he has to do is focus on developing a gazillion widgets that he's really good at. And he can have a business that is, tens and hundreds of millions of dollars strong.
What if that's us? What if that's us? Like, we're really good at developing things, but not so good at the tail end of the sales of it. Like, how do you get past that?
Then your profitable segment is a distributor. Your avatar should be the guy that distributes your type of product. And I know that's something that you guys might not be thinking about. And to give you a general idea, I'm very much in that category. I'm really good at doing what I'm doing, and I'm not so good at the, at the minutia of the marketing stuff. So where I've made most of my money is in joint venture partners, which that's my distributor. They're the ones that service the retail customers. So I let them do that. And I pay them a big chunk to do it. And in doing that, I make way more money. So in the online digital space, that's how that would work, is with a joint venture partner. Somebody that services the customer that's going to consume your product. That's a distributor.
I have to say, Cheryl, I see more, I've seen a few people serving caregivers in especially with our aging population, and yours might be a slight twist on that, but I have seen that, and I've come across them in some of my work with startups a few years ago. There was somebody who was helping with Alzheimer's, patients, I guess you call them, and he wasn't making any progress, so he started reaching out to the caregivers. And I'm not sure when I lost touch, but he very quickly came to the point that the caregivers were the ones that were the most easy to find, because you can go to community centers and for what it's worth.
Yeah. Always look for your sales, look for the path of least resistance. If you can find other people that already serve your client base and they're looking for opportunities, because they might not be good at building the products. That might be their weakness on that SWOT analysis. So you might become their opportunity. And it's up higher in the thing I talked about, relationships. In the food groups, that's a productive food group, is to create those relationships. The creation of the relationship is not the money generating thing, but the money generating thing comes after that relationship is created. So identifying, again, it all comes back to what is going to be the most profitable thing for you. One thing also, for your particular thing, and I've seen this with Mary Sue too in the group, she does supplements for people that have hypothyroidism. And one of her most effective channels is the natural healers, people that are going to natural therapists and, all these people that supply that, like chiropractors, for instance. A lot of people go to chiropractors, for different things because they've tried everything and nothing worked, or they'll go to an acupuncturist and same reason, they've tried all the traditional medicines and nothing worked. So now they're going outside the box. And those people are very, very likely to be seeing you as an opportunity, because you've got something that can help their customer that they don't specialize in. Gives them another thing to sell, makes them money, makes you money, makes everybody look good. And that might be a good place for you to start turning rocks over and see what's underneath.
Do you tend to give 20% for any sales that they send your way? A 20% affiliate fee?
It depends on what it is that I'm selling. If it's in the digital space, most people want 50%.
Okay.
So, and again, it just depends, because in the digital space, everybody knows that it's all, pretty much free product. Once it's made, it's a 50-50 split is the way they see it as being fair. Now, if I was going to give a percentage, like say somebody sends me SEO clients, I can't give them a 50% cut, because I wouldn't be making anything and I'd be charging the end customer way too much. It wouldn't be fair to them. So it's a smaller percentage, anywhere from 10 to 20% on services that we offer when we offer services. So really and again, this is one of those things where there's no set amount that's right or wrong. In business, most everything is a negotiation. So I've had people come to me and basically say, hey, I think you've got something really great. I'd love to sell it, and I want this. And then it's up to me to decide, okay, is it worth that to me? Like when I did the thing with Ryan Dice and Perry Belcher, they basically offered me to create a course that I was really good at. They would handle all the marketing, all the sales, everything. All I had to do was open the mailbox and cash my check. And they said, we'll give you, I don't remember I think I got 30%. They wanted 70%. And I saw that as a great deal. I saw that as an opportunity, because again, the selling and marketing part at that point in time was very much one of my weaknesses. And that, to me, turned a weakness into an opportunity to leverage their strength to build my brand. And it did exactly that. And in the internet marketing space, I would not be where I am if I had not taken that deal. There's literally tens of thousands of people in the internet marketing space that know me because of that deal that I took. And a lot of people told me I was nuts. They said I was cutting a deal with the devil, and that I was crazy to give up my expertise for 30%. And I looked right back at them and I said, you're wrong. You don't understand how this works.
How did your Facebook ad come out with the guy you went down to San Diego and visited?
Well, the first one that we ran, we were off on it. So we stopped, we're reconfiguring. And basically what had happened, I took too closely, and this is another example of making a mistake with competitor research. I was following too closely to some of the competitors that had already made a market promise that was not believable.
Oh.
So we didn't get the click-through ratio. So when you don't get the click-through ratio, it doesn't matter. Your conversion doesn't matter because you're not getting a chance to convert. So we halted it. And that's a cool thing about understanding the process. I knew exactly when to halt it, so I didn't waste money.
Right.
We threw enough. We threw like, I think $250 at it. And with the $250 result, I could clearly see this didn't work. Stop. So we have to go back, change the big idea, and just realign the front end to get a higher conversion ratio.
Well, I thought that part of your ad should say, are you tired of hearing the same kind of language and all of these ads to you? I mean, it's almost like their whole little, I know you like this, but their whole little NLP thing is like, really, stop it. Just talk normal to me, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about right now, I'm thinking about an ad campaign that says you've been lied to.
Well, they've been brainwashed. I mean, when you take something and you try to change a behavior because you know the way the brain works and you're talking to people a certain way, I don't, I don't know enough about that, and we've had that discussion before, but I really disagree that you're trying to change people's selling habits or their buying habits based on the way you talk to them. Tell them what you have, tell them what it does for them, and if they like it, they're going to buy it. Like I can tell on stage, oh, here I go again. Here's this person talking to me like this again. And it turns me off. I'm instantly, like, I'm not buying from you because you're doing that thing to me. I do it instantly. I'm like, oh.
Nobody likes to be manipulated.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what those type of sales tactics are. I mean, you can use NLP in a very suave way to get people to understand something.
Right.
And that's really the way that it should be used. I use it in that way all the time. And even when I'm teaching and training, I'm using it in that way, but not to manipulate people into something they don't need or don't want.
Well, and I don't know enough about it, so I shouldn't. I apologize if I offended, Cynthia or Glenn. I know John knows my feeling about it, but I'm just like,
I feel the same way. I mean, when somebody makes you feel sleazy when they try and sell to you, that's not good.
Right.
That's just somebody that doesn't understand it and is not using it for the good of what.
I crack up at those guys who are like rednecks and they swear now and then and they're just like, I don't speak proper English, but I got this thing I think you'll like. And I think, no, that guy is real. That's who he is. Jimmy Harding's kind of that way. He's kind of like, blah, 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 blah. I think he probably does a little bit of that manipulation, but, I like real. I can like real.
Yeah. But that's kind of what I'm thinking about is coming out with a headline that says you've been lied to. ClickFunnels isn't going to make you a dime.
Oh.
And then they've got to click to figure out what does that mean? I already bought it. What do you mean I'm not going to make a dime?
I love that because I think that I agree with you, Cheryl, and maybe I'm too old. I've been to too many things. When I can sit there and I can predict the next sequence of the conversation when somebody's selling from stage, I know I'm in the wrong room. I know, because I can predict and I think maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're going to use it, but it's a pattern. And when I can recognize the pattern, I'm like, really? So, and so I think that because I write for women and because I've been working on my book and I'm realizing that I'm not taking a stand. Because I believe that women entrepreneurs don't make enough money compared to their male counterparts. And it's a holdover from corporate, and it makes the corporate wage gap look like child's play. Because it's such a, it's sad. And people don't believe me when I quote the statistics, but I have the sources. But anyway, so John, what I'm saying for you is to take a stand because people are getting, they're getting sold. Oh, it's going to be wonderful. It's like all these people that bring you in for 3 days to tell you how to be a better speaker. If they don't have an offer, if they don't have a foundation for marketing, if they don't know who their perfect client is, if they don't know how to speak their perfect client's language, I don't care how perfect the speech is or how many of these, patterns and structures you follow. If there's just like you said, there's no foundation. So I believe more people and on both sides of the gender equation need to take a stand for their clients. Look, if you want to continue to buy the snake oil or to believe, I'm sure it's a great product, but what they're not telling you is this. Yeah. And and John, you need responsible, credible people like you. Can I be on my soapbox for one more minute?
Sure.
Because I believe what's going to help women, and I mean your daughters and granddaughters, is women cannot do this alone to get gender balance in society and in business. We need ethical, strong men who understand, who are leaders like you, John, to just begin to take a stand to let people know you need diversity in every part, every corner of our society and government and business. We need more diversity. So, John, I think that's taking a stand. So I think if you took a stand because you're a leader, you're credible, you're recognized, if you don't take a stand, nobody's going to believe me because I know it, but I'm not experienced in SEO, in funnels, in conversion. I have different skill sets, but you need people who are credible to take a stand. Okay, soapbox over. Sorry.
No, you're absolutely right. I see so many people, in the marketing world that they're scam artists. And again, they might have great products, but their customer is really not in their best interest. Their best interest is filling their pocket with money. And, I think you should fill your pocket with the amount of money that you deserve, not your skill set of how good a salesperson you are. I think it's, it's like Zig Ziglar said, I think it was Zig that said, you'll get everything you want out of life by helping others get what they want out of life. So that's what I believe. I believe the more you help people, the more you deserve.
I really thought that when we were doing those group meetings and we came up with a bunch of headlines that you had some good things you might want to just go back to, because there was something about stop buying products and letting them sit on a shelf.
Yeah.
Like that speaks to people. I would be like, yeah. And how many people are doing that? And that I think would be a great headline for, a test.
Yeah. That was when we were doing the seminar junkies.
Yeah.
And that definitely speaks to that market. But I thought I could actually segment that down even more granular and speak specifically to the people that have already bought ClickFunnels.
Well, it's popular, that's for sure.
I can target them. I know who they are. I have access to them in Facebook. I could hit them right on the nose. And then I can move right to the side and I can do the same thing with Infusionsoft. Because I can make the exact same claim. You've been lied to. Infusionsoft isn't going to make you a dime.
John, I always harken back to something I did learn in corporate, where back in the day, we were selling big communication systems because I worked for AT&T and I worked at corporate headquarters. And they used to do this this sort of total cost of ownership, right? And the big communication system, for 5,000 people in a campus, an office campus. And, so when you do this, you have to have this and this and this, so it's kind of like going back to total cost of ownership. So when you buy ClickFunnels, do you have these three things in place?
Oh, yeah. So you need this, this, and this to make ClickFunnels work.
The headline is, it's kind of like ClickFunnels not working, ? The two short questions.
Uh-huh.
Do you have these four crucial, things in place, whatever your avatar would say?
Yeah.
That's a little more granular than you're right. Some people are just going to say it's not going to make you money. Other people are going to go, oh, of course it is. But if you ask them, oh, have you done these three? Do you have these three things in place or whatever it is?
Oh, yeah. I could make the claim of you need these three things to make ClickFunnels work.
Which ClickFunnels does not provide them. I'm guessing. Let me take a wild guess.
Yeah.
That's what, to me, it's like total cost of ownership. It will work if you do this and this and this. And
yeah, that's a good point.
And then it's your expertise that helps them, do this.
Yeah, and it's going to be the same thing. Be the same 3 or 4 things when I go to Infusionsoft and, Unbounce and all these other different programs.
That could be a super easy webinar to create, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, very easy.
Yeah.
Because even in the webinar, I could just do one webinar and I could just list all the things that aren't going to work without these other 3 foundational things in place.
Is that what you would have people, your Facebook ad lead them to that webinar you might develop?
Yeah, but I would have the specific ad go to the ClickFunnels people, the specific one to the Infusionsoft, and down the line.
Yeah.
So I would hook them in with different things and deliver them the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's the way I would perceive that going down. So.
Very cool.
I can't wait to get the combination right, and the safe's going to unlock. For everybody, it's the same thing. Figuring out the messaging, getting the market right, that's what it's all about. When you get it all right, it all unlocks, and away you go.
I think, John, I don't know if, this is something you want to do, but you might want to do a little webinar on this topic with your group to let them know, don't get discouraged, because even I have had to tweak. I'm working with people that do this, and getting our message right has even been a tweakable situation. And we're changing our language, we're changing our picture, and maybe just to give them hope, like Gretchen, I think she got discouraged because she didn't work.
Yeah.
Well, that's not how the system really works. It really is a trial and error and tweak and trial and error and tweak.
Well, that was my whole point too. Business is messy.
Right.
It's like there is no like clean cut way to just develop a business. Sometimes you get something lucky, and it works right out of the gate. But the problem with that is you got lucky. It wasn't from skill, and you can't reproduce it.
That's right.
You go and try and do it again, and you fall right on your face, and then you're back to you got to go back to basics and really learn what it was that made that successful. That's the only way you'll be able to replicate success again, is if you can identify it in the first place.
Right.
So.
Well, that's all I have to give today.
All right. Anybody else before we wrap up?
Thank you.
Yeah, I enjoyed this. This was a great session here.
Yeah, it was. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
What did Cynthia, John?
All right. We will talk to you guys next week. I'm going to be out of town, so I'm going to figure out what we're going to do to catch up. But we'll get it figured out.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.